Hi, this is a presentation on constructing a community of practice in language teacher education. It's by Patrick Mannion and Dr. John I. Liontas of the University of South Florida. This research project took place in a college of education in a large research university in the southeast of the United States. It was in a course on the use of computer-assisted language learning and mobile-assisted language learning use in second or foreign language education. The participants were second language acquisition and educational technology doctoral students. They were in a combined program. And the data that we look at in this study are multimodal projects, a digital storytelling project, and asynchronous discussions. The focus of this study is the participants' creation and participation in a community of practice. We used thematic analysis and multimodal analysis to look at the data. And the findings showed that the participants created and engaged within a supportive family of language professionals and nascent academics. And the digital stories they made served as testaments to their evolving status as developing experts in their field. We also discuss implications for research and practice. And these are rationales for the study. To begin with, educational technology use is ubiquitous in second and foreign language education. And the effective use of educational technology can have a positive impact on second language or foreign language education. Research on subjects such as TPAC suggests that knowing how to use educational technology is not the same as knowing how to employ educational technology to teach languages or other subjects. The participants are mostly current or former language instructors who are nascent researchers and likely to become teacher educators. And the participants' beliefs about educational technology are likely to influence future teacher education practices and research, because many of them are planning to become professors in university. So what they believe or think may influence the curriculum they design or the research they conduct. For the literature review, we looked at three different subjects: language teacher identity in digital storytelling, and community of practice. So let's first look at community of practice. So Wenger-Trainor and Wenger-Trainor define community of practice as: communities of practice are groups of people who share a concern or a passion for something they do and learn how to do it better as they interact regularly. And there are three aspects of a community of practice: domain, community, and practices. So domain refers to shared interests. Community is the people who share interests and practices. Practices are the experience or the shared resources, tools, etc. And under the concept of practice, there are two more concepts: competence and artifacts. So competence is developed through the practices of the community. And people in the community might create artifacts, and those artifacts reflect their competence. I'd like to look a little bit more at competence and artifacts. So members develop competence in their shared practices within their communities of practice, and they may also create artifacts that demonstrate their competence. And the concepts of competence and artifacts seem to be appropriate concepts for data analysis in the study, because the participants focused on ideal and obligatory practices of language educational professionals. And they also talked about their own competence. And the digital stories they created in their coursework also served as artifacts demonstrating their competence with second language acquisition and educational technology. While there may be different definitions of digital storytelling, we sort of came up with a composite definition from looking at authors such as Lambert and Robin. So we see them as brief videos, 2 to 10 minutes in length, involving still or moving images. They use authors' voices for narration, and they may include background music. And in our literature review, we found some different ways that digital storytelling has been used in teacher education. And this is a list of some of the studies we reviewed. And some digital storytelling projects involve identity work. Others involve reflecting upon and sharing experiences, exploring issues, developing teacher knowledge, and different kinds of teacher knowledge. For example, technological knowledge or digital literacy, pedagogical knowledge, disciplinary knowledge, and TPAC. The TPAC framework looks at technological, pedagogical, and content knowledge, or how to use technology to teach content or disciplinary knowledge. So we also looked a bit more in detail at how digital storytelling is used in language teacher identity research. So a lot of studies have used it in identity work research, and they have looked at different identity issues. And the studies in parentheses are just one example of each category. Some authors have looked at race and gender. Some have looked at racial and social inequality. Chigona looked at community of practice. And some have looked at resilience and attrition, teacher attrition, and also intercultural experiences. The context of this study was a second language acquisition and educational technology program in the College of Education in a large research university located in a suburban area in the southeast of the United States. More specifically, this study took place in a course on CAL and MAL technology use in L2 education. CAL referring to computer-assisted language learning, and MAL meaning mobile-assisted language learning. The participants were 16 first or second year doctoral students and one fifth-year doctoral candidate. Most of them had experience teaching second or foreign languages. The languages they spoke as first or mother languages included Arabic, Chinese, English, Indonesian, Malaysian, Spanish, Tuareg, and Turkish. And they were from 10 countries around the world: China, Cuba, Indonesia, Kuwait, Libya, Malaysia, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, the United States, and Venezuela. There were two primary sources of data for the study. One was the synchronous discussion threads. There were 6 weekly discussions. It was a 6-week summer course, and they had one discussion every week. And the topics were on CAL, MAL, or SLA-related topics. And the discussions related to course readings, materials, and presentations. And the participants were to make one primary post and also respond to classmates' posts. And they also made collaborative digital stories that were in a narrative format. And the digital stories were to promote the use of MAL or CAL tools in second language education. And the imagined audience of these digital stories were L2 teachers engaged in professional development, and they were to be at most 10 minutes in length. And to look a little bit more closely at the digital stories, the students formed 4 groups with 4 or 5 members in each group. And the topics they made their digital stories on were augmented reality, Google Apps, the use of games, augmented reality, and virtual reality. And the 4th group focused on learning management systems. To transcribe the digital stories, I made a template that I used in Microsoft Word. The blue image at the top is an example of the template. And the image at the bottom is an actual example of a scene in the digital story that I transcribed. And every time I played the videos, and every time I believed that the scene changed in a significant way, I took a screenshot. And I transcribed all of the dialogue or narration that took place. And I added notes about what was happening on the screen, any screen text that appeared, etc. We employed multimodal analysis in our analysis of the digital stories. In particular, we employed Unsworth's theories on image-text relations. 3 categories that he has in his theory are concurrence, connection, and complementarity. These images are an example of how I coded the data. I used qualitative data analysis software. In particular, it was MaxQDA. So after transcribing the data, I uploaded it into MaxQDA, and that qualitative data analysis software tool allows you to highlight sections. You can highlight images and then develop codes for them. And from there, we develop themes. We identified two identity-related themes in the data. One was declarations and descriptions, implicit and explicit, of the participants' own multiple digital identities. And another theme was statements of beliefs regarding the ideal educational technology-related practices of second or foreign language instructors in general, and also of the participants themselves. They included themselves in these statements of beliefs. And these are three aspects of the first theme. One was that they expressed professional identities in the discussion forums. They identified themselves as educators and researchers. And when they talked about educators, they often used inclusive words such as we. And they also identified themselves as members of a community or a family. Their doctoral program, they said that they were members of a family of doctoral students. And they also saw their education as a journey. They saw their coursework and their PhD program and everything they were doing in general as steps in a journey of becoming language education professionals. We saw different aspects of the second theme, which was about the participants' perceptions of the ideal or obligatory practices of L2 education professionals. One is that teachers should engage in student-centered teaching. Another one was that they should learn about and focus on their students. A third one was teachers should become effective teachers. They should develop competence, and they should be accountable, and they should follow professional standards. Another one was that they should learn about second language acquisition. Another one was that they should keep current with knowledge of educational technology. They also believed that teachers should employ critical thought about the purposes of educational technology use before they employ it. They should have a reason for employing it. And finally, that teachers should implement and employ educational technology to improve the quality of education for the benefit of learners. We also looked at how the participants used multiple semiotic systems to express meaning in their digital stories. One was concurrence, the use of both images and language to express identity as a teacher. So, for example, in some scenes they showed images of people that looked like teachers, and they stated things such as, I am a 21st century teacher, or we are the 21st century teachers. So the images and text worked together. They stated the same kind of ideational meaning. But they also used complementarity, and that refers to using, for example, images to express one meaning and language to express another, but the image and languages work together to create an overall meaning. So, for example, in one scene in a digital story, there was a picture of all 4 participants in that group, and they had screen text which described their teaching experience. So that scene worked together. You could see the faces of the participants and written details about how long they had been teaching and what they had been teaching. The participants also employed instantiation, and that refers to cases where, for example, the image might represent one example of what the language is referring to. So, for example, in the scene at the top, and frustration as a parent with inconsistent collaborations with teachers in schools. So the image is supposed to represent one example of a parent feeling or a teacher feeling frustrated. And the bottom one is the same kind of idea, where the agonizing delay of what should have been easy and wise decision-making for functional and emerging. So the image is suggesting that the teacher is overburdened or experiencing an agonizing delay. Asynchronous discussions and collaborative digital story projects enabled SLA doctoral students to develop and engage within a supportive community of practice. In their community of practice, participants explored, negotiated, and expressed identities as language educators and developing language teacher educators and researchers. A collaborative digital storytelling project in which participants promoted the use of educational technology in L2 education positioned them as experts in their discipline. The digital storytelling projects furthermore served as artifacts or testaments to their developing expertise in the fields of SLA and educational technology. Asynchronous discussions enabled them to engage in positive identity work and reflect on their experiences in their DS projects. Implications for theory. Applying community of practice theory in SLA doctoral student education can aid in exploring positive identity formation. Research such as this has the potential to promote the use of multimodal theory in data analysis. Since much of our identity work is multimodal, development of multimodal concepts in meta-language can be beneficial. Implications for practice. Creating opportunities for students to create and engage within a community of practice can promote positive identity work. As the findings of this study indicated, combined multimodal digital activities, such as digital storytelling and asynchronous discussions, can provide fruitful opportunities for language education professionals to explore, define, and express identities. This study explored how a group of doctoral students created and engaged within a community of practice. In their coursework and within their communities, they developed and defined their digital identities. They also expressed beliefs regarding the ideal educational technology-related practices of L2 educators, including their own duties. These findings suggest that combinations of multimodal digital course activities can provide opportunities for language education doctoral students to create and engage within supportive communities of practice, where they can engage in positive identity construction. These are some of the references we used in the study. The one at the top, Mannion and Liontas, is this study is in press with a publisher, and it should be published next year.